I think we'll start. I don't know who else is joining us. We haven't had such big crowds lately, but you know me, it's always quality over quantity. But tonight's class is in honor of Tu BShvat. And before we start, I just want to let you know that Bezrat Hashem, in 2 weeks, mark your calendars. We're going to be having an art night. We're going to have artists who will be doing an instructional for all the ladies. I hope you'll all be able to join. And what we'll be doing actually is I will send you all the information, but I will be preparing kits with all of the supplies, the canvas, the paint, the brushes, and refreshments so that we could all enjoy in our own houses. So I'll keep you posted in the next couple of days so you can reserve it, and then they'll be available for pickup. Some of them I'll be able to drop off, and it'll be in preparation for Chodesh Adar. So an evening of color and joy and enjoyment. And if anybody wants to help sponsor, you're more than welcome. I do have one sponsor, but if anybody else wants to, you're more than welcome as well. And that'll be coming up as Bezrat Hashem in 2 weeks.
Merci.
So mark your calendar, tell your friends, and I will be sending everyone the information. But tonight, we're still in the month of Shvat. We're not yet in the month of Adar. We're actually smack right in the middle of Shvat, the 15th day in this month. And we are celebrating tonight and tomorrow the holiday of Tu BShvat. And as we said before when we were talking, you know, this idea of different holidays that we celebrate different things throughout the year. In the general calendar, they don't really have any specific meaning connected to the day on the calendar. Mother's Day is not specific to a day of the year. It's nice to take the opportunity to celebrate our mothers, although it's something we do every year, every day of the year. But you know, holidays in the Torah have a special significance to the day of the year that we celebrate it on. And Tu BShvat is a holiday that often gets forgotten because we don't have to go to the synagogue or say any extra specific prayers on the day. It's not a day on the holiday. It's not a day in the calendar where we need to, you know, go perform any specific mitzvah. It's not a day on the calendar where we have, you know, different things that we need to really, really prepare for in advance. So it often gets forgotten. But the truth is that the holiday itself is extremely important. The day that we are celebrating is extremely valuable. And the lessons, which is always our goal, is to not just learn about what's happening, but to really learn the lessons, is so valuable for what it brings to our life, not just for today, and this day of Tu BShvat, but what it brings to our entire year if we really tap into the lessons and connect with the message that Tu BShvat has for us. So the first and most important thing is, what are we celebrating on Tu BShvat? Tu BShvat is the holiday, the new year of the trees. And I actually saw a cute cartoon someone just sent me. There's a oak tree and a pine tree standing next to each other, and the pine tree tells the oak tree, happy Tu BShvat, happy new year. And the oak tree turns to the pine tree and says, oh, happy Tu BShvat to you too. And then the oak tree turns to the palm tree and says, about the pine tree, I didn't know he was Jewish, because it looks like a Christmas tree. But what's this idea? Every tree, all trees, it's not a Jewish holiday specific, because it's a holiday for the trees. It's a holiday for nature. What are we celebrating? The new year, the rebirth of the trees. It is a day, and actually on the calendar in the land of Israel, now in every part of the world, seasons are slightly different. You know, depending on the temperature and how close, you know, to the equator you are, is if it's summer by you, winter by you. You know, now it's officially winter, but in Florida, it doesn't feel like the same winter as in Canada or in Chicago. And in Argentina, it's right in the middle of the summer now. So different parts of the world have different seasons and also have different produce and agriculture depending on the climate and the soil and different things. But the Torah bases the calendar on the cycle of agriculture in the land of Israel. And in Israel, on the 15th day of the month of Shvat, is when we celebrate the rebirth of the trees, because that is when the trees are actually sprouting and the seeds begin to grow. Hi, Beth, how are you? Welcome. So we have this holiday. We're celebrating the trees, and we don't actually see in Israel today any trees blooming. It's the day when we're celebrating that they're sprouting, but we don't see anything bloom on the day that something sprouts. And what are we celebrating? We're not really celebrating the seeds. We're not celebrating the branches. Which part of the tree do we really celebrate? The fruits. The fruits of the tree are what we are celebrating. So don't you think it would make sense that we should celebrate on the day, as we said, the holiday corresponds to the actual date on the calendar, the day that the fruits begin to grow? Why when the seeds start to sprout? It's still winter. It's not yet spring. Why are we celebrating now when we don't even see the fruits? So the first and most important thing that Tu BShvat is teaching us is that we celebrate, we thank God even before we see the results. And in order to understand that, let's go back a little bit. Why do we celebrate the birth of the trees? The idea of celebrating Tu BShvat is to express our gratitude to Hashem. God created a world so beautiful, a world so magnificent and so colorful. Hi, Pearl, welcome. Happy Tu BShvat. And so divine that we are now given the opportunity to look outside, see the beauty in nature, and thank God for it. So on Tu BShvat, when we're celebrating the new year, the rebirth of the trees, we're thanking Hashem for nature. And that is something that we usually take for granted. I mean, how often do you look outside, you see the trees, and you say, thank God for the beautiful trees? When I say thank God for the beautiful trees, when I video call with my mother and I see the snow outside her window, that's when I say thank God for my green trees. But usually we take it for granted. Nature is something that it like fades into the background. Yes, when we visit somewhere that's so beautiful and you take in a breathtaking scenery, then you are in awe of the beauty in nature and you say, wow, Hashem created something so beautiful. But you don't have to go to one of the 7 wonders of the world in order to really appreciate nature. Nature is something that we need to appreciate every day because it's a gift that God is giving us. But just like everything else in life, when we have something all the time, we start taking it for granted. So we celebrate Tu BShvat to remind us of the beauty in nature so that we can express our gratitude to Hashem for everything He creates, everything that grows in the world. Now, why the trees? Why aren't we celebrating the grass or the flowers or anything else? Because the essence of the tree that we really are thanking Hashem for is the fruits. The fruits are what we really, really appreciate so much. Which brings us back to our original question. If we're really thanking God for the fruits, because that's really the point of a tree, is the fruits and what grows from the tree, why are we thanking Hashem now? Now, when the trees are just beginning to sprout and grow, why are we celebrating now? Why aren't we celebrating in the spring when the fruits begin to grow? So that is what we said, that we're not celebrating the results, we're celebrating the beginning of a journey. Everything in life has a purpose. The purpose of what we want to accomplish, our accomplishments, can be compared to the fruits. If you look at a job and you look at something, anything in life, it could be compared to a tree. The tree has the roots, the trunk, the branches, and then the fruits and the leaves. The leaves are part of the fruits. So if we look at ourselves as people, as individuals, we have ourselves. We are the trunk of the tree. Our backgrounds, which could mean our ancestors, it could mean our past experiences. Those are the roots, which are the root of who we are as the trunk of the tree. Our actions and our efforts are like the branches which grow from us, sprouting outwards. And the fruits are our accomplishments, our results, the beautiful things that we do with our lives. Those are the fruits. But we don't celebrate on the day that we see the fruits, because while the fruits are the end goal, we thank God for the tree when it just starts to grow. Because in life, we don't only find joy once we accomplish things. What God is teaching us by telling us to celebrate Tu BShvat today, well, tonight and tomorrow, when we are beginning the journey, is that we need to celebrate, take joy and pride in every step of the journey. Because if we only celebrate once we've already accomplished, the celebration is very short. Because the journey lasts a lot longer than the results. The results come at the end. And of course, we enjoy when we accomplish things. We appreciate the fruits of our labor when we can see them. But if we wait to find joy and to express gratitude only once we see the fruits, we miss the beauty of all the efforts. We miss the beauty of the entire journey that takes us to the destination. You know, my mother always used to say this when I remember growing up. I'm from a family where I'm, thank God, number 8 of 9 children. So growing up, I had many siblings who got married along the way. And I remember that as soon as my siblings would get engaged, my mother would always say, we have to start celebrating already now. Don't wait for the wedding to celebrate. And I remember thinking, like, yeah, of course, engagement's an exciting time, but it's also like a lot of work. You know, like it's a different kind of excitement, but really the wedding is when you're really going to be joyful. And I remember she always used to say, don't wait for the wedding to dance, because the wedding passes so fast and then you're done dancing. And it's so true, because if we wait just for the end result to enjoy it, it's over before we even begin to enjoy it. So the journey and the preparation and the efforts also have to be a time of joy, a time of gratitude, and a time of celebration, because then we can enjoy the whole process. So the same thing is with the tree. We express our gratitude to Hashem and celebrate the tree when it starts to grow, even though we're not going to see fruits for a while. Because once we see the fruit, we pick it, we eat it, we enjoy it, but it's done. And that is with everything in our lives. We learn from the idea of celebrating Tu BiShvat now is to celebrate the journey. When we have a goal and we are working towards that goal, we should celebrate every step of the way. Celebrate every bit of effort that we put in along the way. Hi, Kayla. Every bit of joy that we can find on our way to celebrating the end results. So that when we do accomplish at the end and when we do see the fruit of our labor, we're not starting to find joy then. We have been on such a joyful journey that at the end, we can look back and say, wow, that was such a beautiful journey. And that could be when we're working towards any goal, because there's so many little goals we have along the way, so many short little journeys that we go through in our lives, and longer journeys, longer trajectories that we're working towards, longer term goals that we are working towards reaching. But when we celebrate every step of the journey, we can really appreciate the entire process. And that is also why Tu BiShvat is called Chag HaIlanot. It's a holiday for the trees. Even though we're celebrating the fruits, we want to celebrate every aspect of the tree. Now, every aspect of the tree, as we said, we have the roots, we have the trunk, the tree itself, we have the branches, and we have the fruits. Now, the Torah tells us, it says, there's a pasuk that says, Ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh. A man is compared to a tree. Now, very interestingly, this pasuk is the source for the custom, which many of you might be familiar with, of an upsharnish. An upsharnish is the haircutting ceremony that a boy has at 3 years old, because our custom is not to cut a boy's hair before he turns 3. The reason is based in this verse in the Torah, which is that man is compared to a tree. There is a Jewish law that the first 3 years of a tree, you are not allowed to cut the fruit and enjoy the fruits. You are only allowed to enjoy the fruit of the year of the tree in the 4th year, which, by the way, the years start from Tu BiShvat. Many people think it starts from Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year, but it doesn't. It starts from Tu BiShvat, which is the beginning of the year, the new year for the trees. So the first 3 years of a tree's life, its fruits are dedicated only to Hashem, and they are not allowed to be eaten, which, by the way, is a law that is not just applicable in Israel. Many of the laws of fruits and trees are applicable only in Israel, but this is a law that pertains to anywhere in the world. If you plant a tree in your backyard, you are not allowed to eat the fruits or use the fruits for the first 3 years, from the first Tu BiShvat for the first 3 years. And many people plant trees, especially in Florida. We have a lot of fruit trees, so it's an interesting thing to know and keep in mind. But the same concept is applied to a person, because a man is compared to a tree, which is why boys we let their hair grow. If any of you have seen my boys before they turned 3, they were often mistaken for girls because they had long, beautiful hair, which we cut at 3 years old. And this concept comes from this idea in the Torah that a man is compared to a tree. Now, everything in the Torah has its basic meaning, and it also has a more deeper esoteric meaning as well. And we can compare this idea of a person being compared to a tree in a few different levels. We have it on a chronological level, that a person is compared to a tree in the sense of the roots, the body of the tree, and the fruit chronologically. The roots of a person is their childhood, their experiences in their early childhood, and their ancestors that affect their lives. The body of the tree is a person when they are an independent adult, their adult life. And the fruits of the tree are the children of a person, the children that a person bears that will carry on after they are gone, and that learn from a person and carry on their legacy and follow in their footsteps. So on a chronological level, we have the tree in comparison to a person as the roots being the childhood experiences, the body of the tree being the adult life of the person, and the fruits being the children that we bear, the legacy that we pass on. That could be actual children, and it could also be those who we inspire to follow in our footsteps, those who we teach and pass on meaning and messages to and leave a legacy for others as well. We also have it on a psychological level. If we think of a person on a psychological level, we have the roots being the depths of a person's subconsciousness. The depths of your subconsciousness is your roots, which form the basis of your thoughts, the depth of who you are within you. Your body, the body of the tree would be a person's consciousness, who you think you are, your thoughts, your ideas, what you think about. And the fruits of a person on a psychological level would be the impact you have on other people from the ideas that you share. So you have your subconsciousness, you have your rational thinking, and then you have the ideas that you form that you share with others, which are also compared to a tree. We also have this, a person being compared to a tree on a spiritual level. If we look at a person as our soul is compared to a tree, we also have this idea of the fruits, of the roots, the body of the tree, and the fruits. The roots of a person on a spiritual level is a person's belief and their faith. Our connection with Hashem, the root of who we are in our soul as our emunah, our faith in Hashem. The body of our tree would be our actual soul, and the mitzvot that we do with our body. So we have our body and we have our soul. We have a soul within a body. When we use our body to do what the soul wants of us, which is to connect to Hashem, to do good deeds, to learn Torah, to engage in spiritual activities, that is like the body of the tree, because we're using our own bodies to connect with something spiritual. And the fruits of the tree on a spiritual level is the impact that we have on the world with every mitzvah that we do. What does that mean? Every time we do a mitzvah, we are generating spiritual energy into the world. We are elevating something physical and bringing it to a higher level. Right now, I'm sitting on a couch. My couch is made from whatever fabric. It's actually suede, so whatever fabric it is, whatever hardware is inside of it, whatever wood or metal, whatever it is, those are all physical objects. When I sit on this couch and learn Torah, I am not only elevating the atmosphere around me, I'm actually elevating this couch because I'm using it for something of holiness. So I have now created a form of holiness within this couch that I'm sitting on. And the same could be said for the computer that I'm using. The same could be said for everything that I am involving in my mitzvah. When I eat food, I am elevating the food by making a blessing on it. I am taking the actual physical food and using it for a mitzvah. It is now something that has been elevated. Natalie, how are you? Welcome. Happy BShvat. So every mitzvah that we do, we are actually creating something that is like the fruit of the tree, because we have the tree stands, but the fruits, they go further. They have an impact. They can be enjoyed by people around them. And the same is when we do a mitzvah, we elevate our surroundings, we inspire other people. Our impact goes further, just like a fruit. So on each level, a person is compared to a tree. So in that sense, we're not just celebrating the actual trees, we're celebrating ourselves as people who can behave like a tree and learn from a tree. So what can you learn from a tree? Well, there are so many things that a person could learn from a tree. You know what you learn from a tree mostly? What you learn from a tree is that you do not part from your roots in order to have an impact. Now that is a very profound idea, because every person wants to make an impact. We all want that our journeys should end in accomplishments that affect other people in a positive way. That's what it means to lead a meaningful life. Leading a meaningful life means that we have an impact on others. We create positive change in the world, whether it's globally for just ourselves and the people around us, but we all want to, quote unquote, bear fruit. Because what's a tree without fruit? So when we are trying to make an impact, sometimes we feel like we need to move away from what we feel is true to ourselves in order to affect positive change. Sometimes we have to compromise on our standards, we might think. But what we learn from a tree is that the stronger your roots are and the more embedded you are within those roots, the more beautiful your fruits can be. And the same is with ourselves. The more deeply we are rooted in our own faith, in our connection with Hashem, in our connection with our beliefs and our standards, our roots, the more impact we can have on the world. The more we connect with our ancestors, as we learned about many different women in the Torah that are all our roots. They are our history. They are the ones that we learn from. The more we connect with our roots, the closer we are to bearing fruit, which means to having an impact on the next generation, having an impact on other people, setting an example, and leaving a legacy. And teaching other people comes from learning from those that we got the example from, really connecting with our roots. And that's what it means to be like a tree. And on BShvat, when we celebrate this tree, we're celebrating a few important elements. Number one, we're celebrating the journey, which is why, as we said, we want to celebrate when the tree starts to grow, not just when we see the fruits. And number two, we want to remember that the roots of the tree are what are most important. The delicious fruits come from a tree that is firmly planted. We need to be firmly planted in our beliefs, in our faith, in our connection to Hashem and the Torah in order to bear beautiful fruits. And that is something very powerful and very meaningful. And the third most important lesson from BShvat is the idea of gratitude. Now, today is a holiday where we're celebrating the trees and we're appreciating nature, but that is what we need to express our gratitude to God. We sometimes forget that God is really nature. You know, when you think of a miracle, miracles come from God. Wow, it was such a miracle. A miracle is something that is not a natural thing that happens. It's a miracle, which means that it wasn't natural. But what is natural? What is nature? In the Torah, there's the concept of teva. Teva means nature. There's teva, which is nature, and then there's lemayla min hateva, something that is above nature, supernatural. Now, we know about many miracles in the Torah, many miracles in life that are supernatural. When God split the sea, that was supernatural. When the 10 plagues were smiting the Egyptians, that was supernatural. Those were miracles. When a person is on the verge of death and they make a miraculous recovery that the doctors can't explain, that's something that's supernatural. Those are miracles. And when we see things like that or we hear about things like that, automatically we know to thank God. But then there's nature. The sun rises every morning, the sun sets every evening. We wake up in the morning, we open our eyes. Those are natural things. But Tu BiShvat reminds us that even within Teva, even within nature, there is God. God is the one who is making nature happen. There isn't nature and then God. God is nature. And we need to thank God for the everyday miracles that we experience. You know, a miracle happened to me this morning. I woke up. Now, if someone was telling you that story, you'd still be waiting to hear the miracle. So you woke up, and what's the miracle? The miracle is that I woke up, that I was able to open up my eyes, and I was able to see, and I was able to speak, and I was able to walk. These are miracles. When we look outside and we see a tree, and it's standing, and it has branches, and it has leaves, and it has fruits, that's a miracle. Yes, it's nature, but nature is miraculous. Nature is God. And that is what we are celebrating today. We are celebrating everyday miracles, and we're thanking Hashem, we're thanking God and expressing our gratitude, our appreciation for the everyday miracles that we experience. You know, there's something very interesting about a fruit. Because today, how do we celebrate Tu BiShvat? Besides for thanking God for the miracles, we celebrate Tu BiShvat by eating fruits. Now, if any of you have any fruits now, I hope you're enjoying them. There are even those who have a custom of having a Tu BiShvat seder, when we eat many different types of fruits. It's particularly a Sephardic custom, specifically in Morocco, Tunisia. There are many different blessings that we say on different fruits. And there are two customs, which it's good we're learning about them now, so you can partake in them tomorrow. The two customs of Tu BiShvat are as follows. Number one, we make a shehecheyanu. There is a fruit that we have not eaten during this season. It could be either a regular fruit that you just haven't eaten in a long time, or it could be an exotic fruit, a tropical fruit, any exotic fruit that you haven't had a chance to eat during this time. We make the blessing of shehecheyanu. Now, this is a custom that we have on Tu BiShvat, and it's a beautiful thing that we get to do, celebrating a new fruit to have excitement. Now, you eat an apple every day, it's not so exciting. If you eat a star fruit or a lychee or any fruit that you haven't had in a while, you really enjoy that fruit. So the Shehecheyanu blessing that we say on Tu BiShvat helps us regain and reignite our appreciation for fruits. The second custom that we have on Tu BiShvat is to eat either 1, 2, or as many as we can get our hands on of the 7 fruits and grains of Israel. Israel is known for 7 fruits and grains, 7 species that are indigenous to Israel. And these are called the Shivat HaMinim. And we try to eat them. Now, some of them we eat more often than others, but we still try to eat them on Tu BiShvat. And these 7 fruits and grains are wheat, barley, grapes, dates, figs, olives, and pomegranates. Now, grapes, something that people eat more often. Olives, people eat more often. Pomegranates, not as much. Figs are usually more rare, depending on depending on the level of how much of a foodie you are and how often you eat different fruits. But then there's things like wheat that many people eat every day. Barley people eat very often as well. But there's a difference. There's some that are more rare, there are some that are more exotic, and there's some that are more regular and mundane. But the truth is, each one is very special and very valuable to the land of Israel, which is why we try to eat them. So even if you usually stay away from wheat or gluten, unless obviously if it's something that you cannot eat something tonight or tomorrow that has wheat, but don't just eat it. Think about it. Think about how you're connecting with the land of Israel. Barley, you can have a barley bread, barley soup, cook some barley in whatever form and enjoy it. The fruits that we have, the grapes, it could be wine, make hagafen, it could be eating the grapes, the olives, enjoying them, pomegranates, pomegranate juice, pomegranate seeds in whatever form, the dates, specifically the dates that come from Israel, the delicious, sweet, sweet dates. Enjoy some silan, some date honey, enjoy figs, whether fresh or dried, whatever you can get your hands on. And not just to eat them, but to really celebrate the fact that they are coming from Israel. And wheat and barley are not fruits, but they're grains. And they're called the fruits of Israel, but they're actually produce that is grown in Israel, which is why we don't actually call them the 7 fruits of Israel. We call them the 7 species because they're fruits and grains, but they grow specifically in Israel. Thanks, Lily, for clarifying that. And these different elements of the land of Israel, we can connect to and enjoy them and appreciate them. But you know what's interesting? Is that wheat is a mainstay of life. You need any form of grains. Grains represent basic food. But wheat is not something that you just enjoy on its own. You got to put in effort in order to make wheat something delicious. I mean, a stalk of wheat will get you nowhere. But once it's ground into flour and mixed with ingredients and baked or cooked or fried, whatever form, it's something delicious. Barley is much the same. You're not going to just enjoy grains of barley as is. They need to be worked on. That represents the gratitude that we have to God for the basics in our lives. The stuff that, the everyday work, and the stuff that we actually have to work hard in order to achieve our goals with. The struggles, the challenges, you got to put in the effort. And Tu BiShvat reminds us that these are things we need to thank God for. we should be thankful for the challenges in our lives because the accomplishments at the end are beautiful because of the difficulties, the challenges, the efforts that we need to put in. Then we have delicious fruits. Guess what? Fruits, if you really think about it, is the most luxurious thing that exists. I mean, you don't have to do anything. You just pick it off a tree. It's beautiful. It's colorful. It's delicious. It can be eaten without any preparation for most fruits. You might have to peel it, but it doesn't take nearly the amount of effort to become beautiful and delicious as a stalk of wheat. I mean, if you pick a pomegranate, it's gorgeous. You open it up and it's bursting with little jewels of sweet deliciousness. If you pick a dragon fruit, have you seen a dragon fruit? The gorgeous color that's on the outside, and then you cut it open and it has this beautiful black and white stark contrast. I mean, that's art. That's luxurious art. That's just right there for the picking. Those are fruits. And we express our gratitude to Hashem for the things that he gives us on a silver platter, like fruits. The many luxuries that we have in our lives that we just take for granted, the beauty that we have in our lives, the word in Hebrew we say is the shefa, the bounty that God gives us that is just there for us, the enjoyment, the pleasures that Hashem just gives us right there on a silver platter for us to enjoy. Tu BShvat reminds us to express our gratitude for everything we have in our lives, the things that we have that we need to put in effort for, and the many beautiful things that we have that are just right there given to us for us to enjoy. The fresh air, the beautiful sunshine, laughter, all the things that we don't have to work hard for. The stuff that we can just take and enjoy and pick like a fruit that we just pick off a tree, bite into and enjoy the sweetness. So Israel has 7 different fruits and grains. Some involve more effort. Some are just beautiful, delicious, colorful, and sweet without working hard at all. And we are thankful to God and we express our gratitude for all of it, for everything that we have in our lives, for the difficulties, the things that are not given to us easily on a silver platter, and for the beautiful things, the delicious fruits that are just there for us to enjoy the sweetness. And that is why we celebrate Tu BShvat when the tree is beginning to grow, because we want to enjoy and celebrate all of it, the entire journey, from the beginning, all the efforts along the way, and the delicious fruit that we get at the end, the accomplishments, the enjoyment, the celebration. We want to enjoy all of it and celebrate all of it. And the way that we can really express that appreciation and that gratitude is by remembering that a strong tree is firmly planted. A strong tree has deep roots. And a strong person is also firmly planted in our convictions, firmly planted in our belief, firmly planted in our faith. And that is when we can recognize the beauty in every step of the way. Laura, the comment that you just said is perfect. I'm going to read what you just chatted me, if that's okay. It's not the destination, it's the journey along the way. That's exactly what it is. Because every stage of the tree's growth needs to be celebrated. Every stage of the tree's growth needs to be appreciated. Because if we only start expressing our appreciation when we have the fruits in our hand, we're done dancing and the wedding's over. You got to dance the whole time as you prepare. We need to express our gratitude to Hashem for every step along the way. For the things in our life that's like the wheat or the barley, that all we're given is a dry stalk, and we need to grind it, and we need to thresh it, and we need to mix it with ingredients, and we need to make it wet, and we need to make it hot in the oven. Think about it. Imagine your life like a stalk of wheat. Yeah, at the end, you get a beautiful, delicious cake. But it takes a lot for the wheat to go through. And we have things in our lives that at the end, we hope will be like a delicious cake, but the steps along the way, the journey is much like the journey of a stalk of wheat or a kernel of barley, whatever it is, we have it along the way. And we need to enjoy them at every stage. We need to enjoy the process, because once you have the delicious cake, you eat it and it's gone. Exactly. I'm glad that you're enjoying the fruits of your labor with your adult daughters. And I'm glad you enjoy them when you're young. And thank you for saying that, because I often need to remind myself to enjoy the kids when they're young, especially over winter break when they're home the entire day and everything is closed and we're social distancing with all the kids home. But, you know, when you enjoy the fruits, and I'm going to remember this will be my BShvat resolution, to enjoy every stage, even in the middle of the night, because yes, every single stage is beautiful. And in every part of our lives, we have these stages that we always looking to get to the next thing, and we're looking to already reach our goal. But once the goal is reached, that's it, you're done. So we need to enjoy from when the tree is being planted, and from when the tree is growing, and even when it's not so beautiful. And you know those trees that you see that have the, you know, these things holding it up along the way, and you look at it and you're like, that's not exactly the most attractive looking tree. But yes, this is all part of the journey. And if you don't want to put the bars along the tree so it should grow and strong and tall and straight, you won't have something beautiful at the end, because we need to put in the effort along the way. And then there are also the things in our lives that are like a delicious fruit. They come to us easily and we enjoy it, and we don't have to work hard for it, like a beautiful, delicious, ripe fig that is just gorgeous and sweet and beautiful, and you can just pop it into your mouth and it's so delicious. Those we have to thank God for as well. We cannot take those for granted either. And that is what BShvat teaches us. This is what we're celebrating BShvat. We're celebrating every step of the journey, and we're appreciating the fruits that come along with it. And that is what BShvat is all about. So tonight and tomorrow, if you have these fruits in your house already, take them, enjoy them with your family, enjoy them with your friends, enjoy them by yourself, whoever you're enjoying them with, enjoy them and appreciate them. If you don't have any of these fruits at home, go out and get some. It could be just one. It could be all of them. But try to do these two things. Number one, try to eat a fruit that you haven't had this season, so that you can have the opportunity to make the blessing of Shehecheyanu. The blessing is Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam Shehecheyanu v'kiyemanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. We're thanking God for giving us an opportunity to enjoy a new fruit, to enjoy a new experience. And this helps us reignite our passion and our excitement for fruits, our excitement for nature, our excitement for everything that God gives us within nature. And the second thing is to enjoy one or as many as possible of the species that are indigenous to Israel, that we can appreciate the land of Israel. We can appreciate the land of the Jewish people, and we can appreciate that God has given each of us a land that is ours. No matter where we are in the world, there is a land that belongs to us. There is a land that is ours, and that is something we need to value, we need to appreciate, and we need to celebrate. So ladies, happy BShvat to everyone. Let's remember these important lessons and let's take them to heart and let's really, really make them a reality. Now, before I leave you, first of all, if anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to unmute yourself. But I said this at the beginning of the class, but we have a few who joined since, so I'm going to say it again. In 2 weeks, Bezrat Hashem, we are going to be having a art evening on Zoom. It will be a virtual evening, but it'll be for everyone to enjoy. So the details are not finalized yet, but I do have someone who is co-sponsoring in honor of a loved one. So if anybody wants to join in sponsoring in memory, in honor, feel free to reach out to me. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful event. And please, I will be sending all of you the information for it, but please encourage your friends because there's only so much I can do and how many times I can remind everyone. So please encourage your friends. I will be sending the information, but the way it's going to work is I will be preparing for everyone who registers, and obviously we'll have to register within enough time so that they'll be available and ready. But you will reserve and I will have ready for you a kit with all of the art supplies, everything that you need, as well as refreshments so that we can all enjoy it together in our own homes and feel like we're actually at an event, even though we're all in our own homes, with everything, all the art supplies that you need. And the kits will be available a few days before for pickup or possibly drop off for depending on the location or wherever it is. And you will be able to join the event. We'll be having a professional who will be doing this event for us. And we will be doing this Bezrat Hashem in 2 weeks in honor of the month of Adar. So I will be sending you the information in the upcoming days and we'll be able to celebrate all together. So happy to BShvat, everyone. Enjoy your fruits and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But don't forget to remember that we need to enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, not just the destination, because once you're there, you're only there for so long. So enjoy the drive, everyone. So yes, Severine, Chag Sameach. Because it's always a good opportunity to say happy holidays, happy to BShvat, that we should enjoy it together. So good night, ladies. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Mushka.
And looking forward to many, many happy things together.